Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 1783B, and today's date is February 4th, 2019, and the title of the episode is Old Guard Exposed, the Truth Overshadows the Propaganda. Now, we know the deep state, they're making really big changes. CNN, they just announced last month that YouTube will be censoring any videos on its platform having to do with 9/11 or conspiracy theories. Anyone who is watching this content will most likely be recorded. Using a VPN is a great idea. Virtual Shield VPN is the easiest and fastest to use VPN. With the click of a button, change your IP address to a different location. This month, Virtual Shield is offering 35% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons. Their no-log policy protects its users from any data breaches. It's time to fight back and protect yourself. Get 35% off this month by clicking the link below. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, we're starting to see the tables turn, where everything the deep state, the old guard, has been trying to do, well, it's coming back at them, and they can't seem to stop it. And what we're actually seeing is Trump and the Patriots, they're beginning to control the narrative, and they are beginning to show that the mainstream media, they are pushing propaganda. People are starting to wake up. And as every day goes by, you can see how the deep state, how the old guard, they're trying to weather this storm. And it's becoming very, very difficult for them to do. I mean, think about Governor Northam when he came out with those statements, when they were trying to push their movement, and all of a sudden the yearbook information came out where he was next to a Ku Klux Klan person. He was either dressed in blackface, and he tried to explain this. Now, this is part of many different agendas. And the problem with all of this is that it is not working out to the way that the deep state wanted it to work out. Because now we have Lieutenant Governor Justin Fairfax. He's been accused of new sexual assault allegations against him. And he's trying to explain this away. Now, what's very interesting about this case is that a woman came forward, Vanessa Tyson, who said she was sexually assaulted by Fairfax at the DNC convention more than a decade ago. She said, imagine you were sexually assaulted during the DNC convention in Boston in 2004 by a campaign staffer. You spend the next 13 years trying to forget it ever happened. Then, by strange, horrible luck, it seems increasingly likely that he'll get a very big promotion. Now, the thing is, the Washington Post knew about this, and they knew all this information. Guess what they did? They didn't run the story. Now, in a statement, Fairfax said that the Washington Post had looked into the claims and found significant red flags and inconsistencies within the allegation, and that the paper decided not to run the story for that reason. But the Washington Post, at least in part, disagrees. Fairfax and the woman told different versions of what happened in the hotel room with no one else present. The Washington Post could not find anyone who could corroborate either version. The Post did not find significant red flags and inconsistencies within the allegations, as the Fairfax statement incorrectly said. The Post described the allegations they received in late 2017 about the 2004 Democrat National Convention. Now, the woman described the sexual encounter that began with the consensual kissing and ended with a forced act that left her crying and shaken. She said Fairfax guided her to the bed, where they continued kissing, and at one point she realized she could not move her neck. She said Fairfax used his strength to force her to perform oral sex. Now, the Washington Post doesn't reference the Christine Blasey Ford's allegations against Justice Brett Kavanaugh in their rebuttal to Fairfax. The omission is striking given the specific details provided in Tyson's allegations, such as specific event, specific time, specific location, unlike Ford, who couldn't remember what year the alleged assault occurred. The Post let the accusations against Fairfax die in the darkness. Now compare and contrast the handling of the Fairfax story with Justice Kavanaugh. Two completely separate ways of handling this. And with Fairfax, we have specific time, event, and location. So what does this mean? Well, it's all out in the open that the mainstream media has been exposed. Now let's look at what the deep state is trying to do with Northam. First, they're pushing the focus onto the governor away from the legislation. Expose what they had on him, then make him resign. The question is why? Why are they pushing this so hard? Think about it. Clinton's out there, Pelosi's out there, Kathy Tran is out there, and many others are saying he must resign, must resign, must resign. Well, first of all, it shifts the focus, moves everything away from legislation, makes it seem like he's the bad man. But the question is why? Why are they pushing so hard? They are showing that they own their own scandals, and they are pushing for their own to resign, and the Republicans should do the same. They are about to push this agenda hard. Watch all the attacks. You see how they plan this? Because now they're going to turn this around and say, hey, we found this out, and we forced him to resign, and most likely he's going to resign. And you can see how this is all playing out. They're going to use this, or try to use this, against the Republicans, against Trump. This is their big plan. It's going to fail. It is not going to work because they don't have anything on Trump. There's no Russian collusion. There's no yearbook that shows Trump in blackface. There is nothing like that whatsoever. And this is where it's going to fall short. Yes, will they try to make something up? Maybe. Maybe they'll do something like the dossier or some other thing. But again, it will be proven that it is completely fake, phony, and false. Now, we can see the deep state is even going after Tulsi Gabbard. Now, just because you're a Democrat, remember, there are evil people in the Republican Party. There are evil people in the Democratic Party. Part of the deep state, part of the neocons. Just because you're part of the party doesn't mean you're part of the team. See what I'm saying here? Now, Tulsi Gabbard, she was completely against wars in Syria. She's completely against regime change. She threw her hat into the 2020 Democratic election as a candidate. And all of a sudden, NBC News published a predictable viral story claiming that experts who track websites and social media linked to Russia have been stirrings of possible campaign of support for Tulsi Gabbard. So they tried to link her to Russia, but the whole story was a sham. The only expert cited by NBC in support of this claim was the firm New Knowledge that just got caught by the New York Times fabricating Russian troll accounts on behalf of Democratic Party in the Alabama Senate race to manufacture false accusations that the Kremlin was interfering in that election. To justify the claim that Tulsi Gabbard is the Kremlin's candidate, NBC stated the following. Analysts at the New Knowledge, the company the Senate Intelligence Committee used to track Russian activities in the 2016 election, told NBC News they spotted chatter related to Gabbard in anonymous online message boards, including those known for fomenting right-wing troll campaigns. What NBC amazingly concealed is the fact that reveals its article to be journalistic fraud. The same firm, New Knowledge, was caught just 6 weeks ago engaging in a massive scam to create fictitious Russian troll accounts on Facebook and Twitter in order to claim that the Kremlin was working to defeat Democratic Senate nominee Doug Jones in Alabama. Now, Tulsi Gabbard lashed out at NBC and said this is a smear campaign. And the network was called out over the weekend for trying to push this. And they were caught pushing a fake story. You can see how the deep state, they are struggling to gain the narrative. They want their players out there and in the front, on the front lines for this next election. I mean, think about how many people are now slated to be a candidate for the 2020 Democratic elections. I mean, just think about that for a second. They're just throwing everyone they possibly can at this. This is going to be a big fail for them. The deep state is not going to be able to pull this off. Now, we know there's a caravan that is headed up to the border, and this is perfect timing for Trump to push the wall, to push national emergency for the country, to build the wall. And I know that he doesn't really need a national emergency to build the wall, but I think he wants this to move forward where it exposes the Dems, exposes Pelosi, exposes that they don't care about border security. They don't care about the everyday American. They don't care about stopping gangs, human trafficking, drugs coming into the country. And he wants this to go on because the longer it goes on, the more they're exposed. Trump tweeted out the following: with caravans marching through Mexico and toward our country, Republicans must be prepared to do whatever is necessary for strong border security. Dems do nothing. If there's no wall, there is no security. Human trafficking, drugs, and criminals of all dimensions keep out. And then we have Representative Jim Jordan. He tweeted the following: another huge caravan, this time over 12,000 migrants, will reach the U.S. border this week. President Trump is sending troops and focused on security. We need a permanent fix. The Democrats must get serious about securing our southern borders. So we can see right now there's going to be this huge push. We know the State of the Union is coming up tomorrow, which is the 5th, and Trump is going to be touching on all these things. And I know the Dems have their people they're bringing. The Republicans have their people that they're bringing. And we know that Trump, the Patriots, they have a plan to lock this down. Now, we know the former intelligence operatives, they are not giving up. They are still pushing their agenda against Trump. They want Trump to listen to their intelligence reports, but Trump actually listens to the military intelligence. He might listen to them, he might disagree with them, and he might go in a completely different direction. And this is what they really hate. They don't want him listening to anyone but them. And we can see right now, this is where the problem came in when the intelligence organizations were testifying in front of the Senate. And when Trump had his meeting with these intelligence organizations, he will do what he needs to do. And it doesn't matter if they're telling him one thing. He's listening to the military. He's listening to the military intelligence to feed him good information. And he's making his decisions most likely based on that. And you can see that the intelligence organizations, they are angry and pissed off about this. And we know when he was coming into office and Obama and the rest wanted him to sit in the daily briefings, he said he wasn't going to do this because the military intelligence was telling him not to do this. And he knew better. So he still knows better. He still understands what's going on here. He gets what they're trying to do. And there is evidence of the existence of such operation from the Inspector General. And what does it say in the report? Well, they have alleged, and in some cases concluded, that some top intel officials improperly leaked information to the news media and engaged in politically motivated surveillance practices involving multiple Trump associates. In the newest press salvo, unnamed intel officials fanned out to air anonymous grievances against their commander-in-chief. They provided details of classified briefings and made inflammatory charges, such as that Trump is endangering American security with his stubborn disregard and willful ignorance. Now, Trump isn't the first commander-in-chief to question his intelligence briefers. Yet the officials typically didn't go public with their gripes. Some of the leaked information is designed simply to embarrass and discredit him, and actually make him go in the wrong direction, and actually probably to set him up. So he already knows this. He knows what's going on. Now, I wanted to switch over to Huawei because coming out of Western Journal, there's a very interesting story about Huawei and the Clintons. Now, we need to understand that Huawei is in trouble. The Justice Department, they unveiled sweeping charges on the Chinese telecom firm Huawei and its chief financial officer, Meng Wanzhou, outlining a decade-long attempt by the company to steal trade secrets, obstruct a criminal investigation, and evade economic sanctions on Iran. Now, what's very interesting about this is that they've been involved in helping terrorist states and seemingly seeking to thwart U.S. sanctions for a long time. Now, the Clinton family, they have close relations with Huawei. When their connection was first exposed more than a decade ago, it just seemed like another shady Clinton deal. But now it becomes clear that Huawei has been central to the Iranian effort to evade first UN and then U.S. sanctions. The Clintons were apparently conspiring with the enemy. Huawei has long been a bad actor in undermining U.S. foreign policy. The company has had a deep and long-term relationship with the Clinton family. Huawei and the Clinton ties began when Terry McAuliffe, the Clintons' top fundraiser and future governor of Virginia, bought a Chinese car company, Green Tech Automotive, and moved it to the U.S. in the hopes that it would produce electric cars. McAuliffe got Huawei to invest in green tech through a financing firm called Gulf Coast Funds Management, headed by Hillary's brother, Tony Rodham. Gulf Coast, boasting the Rodham name, agreed to help Huawei get visas for its top executives under the EB-5 program, which awards visas to those who invest at least $500,000 in the U.S. to create jobs. According to the South China Morning Post, the U.S. action against Huawei will severely damage, even cripple, the Chinese company. Of Huawei's 92 core suppliers, 33 are U.S. corporations, including chipmakers Intel, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Marvell, and Micron. If Washington now prohibits these companies from selling Huawei, the Chinese telecom giant will struggle to survive, and it will hit the Clintons. So the Clintons once again have an association with Huawei, and you can see how this is all tying in, where Clinton was selling secrets to the Chinese through her servers. And you can see how all of this is starting to look, and you can see why the deep state and certain individuals, they are nervous and afraid that Trump is in office. Why? Because Trump, the Patriots, they have all this information. Who has the server? Who knows it all? They do. Are they going to put it out there just yet? No. They want to make it seem like that there's nothing going on. Let these people continually do what they do. Gather more and more evidence. Make it an airtight case. Now, what we're seeing today is that Trump and the Patriots, they are now controlling the narrative. The mainstream media, the deep state, they are struggling to keep their viewers. Think about what happened during the Super Bowl. First of all, the Patriots won, which is kind of odd because the Rams said if they won, they wouldn't visit Trump. Well, they didn't win, and the Patriots won. Very interesting right there. But during the Super Bowl, the Washington Post ran an ad trying to convince the world to trust the mainstream media. And they were pushing this because they needed to do this because the people aren't trusting the mainstream media anymore. They're starting to realize that it's propaganda. They're losing the narrative. The people are waking up and they're trying to stop it. But they're too late. It's too late in the process right now. There are too many people waking up, and they spent millions upon millions of dollars for this ad while they're laying off reporters, while the other mainstream media outlets are laying off reporters. They're doing whatever they possibly can to control the situation, but it's failing. What we're seeing right now is the removal of the old guard, the destruction of the old guard. Truth is now replacing propaganda. And Brennan, Clapper, Obama, Clinton, Comey, and the rest, they can't do anything about this. Yes, can they still push propaganda? Of course. But as they continually do this, they're destroying themselves. You can see all the different pieces that had to come first before the release of the declassification, the release of all the evidence. Remember, if we go back to Q's posts, they didn't want a population where they were going to receive this information when they came out with the declass and everything else, where they didn't believe it. Because it's better to have people on your side then release it than to have people still questioning it. This is why they've been taking time. This is why Trump has been out there tweeting about Orr, tweeting about Comey, tweeting about Clinton, tweeting about the situation, tweeting about the wall, illegal immigrants, trying to get his point through to the people. By the Washington Post running this ad, there's only one reason you would do this. If you're losing the war. Because you don't have to tell people to trust you if you're telling the truth. You only have to tell people to trust you if you're lying to them. Because why would you have to tell anyone if you're already telling the truth? Guess what? People would already know it. But when people see information coming out of all different areas that counters what the mainstream media is doing, and they start to do research, that's when they start to realize they've been listening to propaganda. And the propagandists, what they have to do is they have to try to regain the narrative by telling everyone, trust us. It's not going to work. Like I've said in the past, truth will always stand taller than propaganda. The truth will always be there. You can hit it as hard as you want, but guess what? It will never bend a knee. It will always stand tall. Propaganda will be wiped away in an instant. Once you present the facts, once you present the truth, propaganda disappears and people see the light. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.